Well, hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global. That's the top story we'll be following. The situation in Iran that completely remains grim, with at least 36 people losing their lives in the violence. Amid nationwide protests in Iran over economic distress, a video has surfaced showing a police officer killed in a drive-by shooting in the southeastern province of Sistan and Balochistan. The clip shows an unidentified assailant leaning out of a car window with only the tip of the gun visible, firing repeatedly at the officer's vehicle until it veers off the road and crashes. Meanwhile, protests and unrest continue across Iran. In Bandar Abbas, people staged demonstrations against the regime, while in Tehran, protesters toppled and destroyed a statue of Qasem Soleimani, former head of the Quds force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, that's the IRGC. In Mashhad, protesters tore down the Iranian flag. This follows clashes between protesters and security forces in Tehran, where crowds chanted "Death to Khamenei" slogans. I can hear very faint. Massive protests in the streets of Iran, this after the economic crisis that the country faces. It has been a country that has been facing crisis for many years because of sanctions by the United States of America. But of late, after Trump's hardened position against and after what happened in Venezuela, things seem to have gone from bad to worse. And now the regime is in a catch-22 situation wherein they're looking at how they will either engage the civilians, or should they act against the civilians, then Trump administration will act against them. So a catch-22 situation, what's going to happen from here on is the big question, because this is where the people have come out in the streets, not because of the rights question in Iran, but more so to do with the economic collapse. Many can't afford basic necessities, and that certainly has become a problem. There are many areas where there have been clashes between police forces and the civilians, and that really has caused a lot of worry. The international community is watching very closely what happens in Iran. India Today has been speaking to various experts, and most of them have been saying that after Venezuela, while all eyes are on other Caribbean and Latin American countries, the focus should also remain on Iran. This is a clear regime change playbook of the American state, where there has been unrest, questions being asked of the regime. And the next step would be, should the regime act against the protesters, America will have a reason then to go in. So a serious situation. And in all this, because of the regional and global instability that this could cause, the focus is also going to be on how China and Russia are going to look at the situation, whether they'll come to the rescue of their old ally and partner, Iran. That you're seeing of protests in Iran, that's the top story that we have been focusing on and will be focusing on, whether if Iran is going to be the next country in the realm of a Trump target, or whether if they will be able to manage quelling these protests. But for that to happen, the economic crisis has to be tackled with by the regime. Now, after Venezuela's regime collapsed in record time, oil snapped back into U.S. control and rivals went silent. The unsettling reality shaking global politics is that Maduro may have been only the opening act before Trump applies the same ruthless playbook to Iran. Here's Statecraft for you. Trump has just changed the regime in Venezuela, and it seems like he has already set his eyes on the next target, Iran. Just 1 year into Donald Trump's second presidency, Venezuela didn't just wobble, it collapsed. Nicolas Maduro wasn't pressured, persuaded, or voted out. He was captured, cuffed, and flown out under American guard. That moment matters not because of Venezuela alone, but because it exposed the machinery in motion. And history screams what comes next. The United States doesn't stop after one success. It escalates, it tests, it proves, it repeats. If Venezuela was the proof of concept, then Iran is the logical sequel. Bigger prize, higher stakes, deeper symbolism. Even the streets in Iran are being named after Trump. People of Iran should be worried, as this might just be the start of America's foreign intervention, and that is not good news in any part of the world. The playbook has been opened, the tools have been sharpened, and the signals are already flashing. So is Iran now staring down the same regime change conveyor belt? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Trump didn't stumble into Venezuela. He engineered it across phases that mirror decades of American intervention abroad. Economic isolation first, delegitimization next, covert penetration after that, then force. Once the formula worked, once Maduro was removed with minimal US casualties and oil flows resumed, the psychological barrier vanished. Venezuela became a case study, a warning shot, a message broadcast to adversaries everywhere. And Iran has been hearing that message loud and clear. From sanctions to rhetoric, from covert pressure to open threats, Tehran already sits where Caracas sat months before collapse. The only real difference is scale. Venezuela was the rehearsal. Iran could be the main stage. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's meeting with Trump at Mar-a-Lago around New Year only deepened those fears. The message, Sachs said, was blunt. Iran, you're next. Protests inside Iran, driven by currency collapse, inflation, energy shortages, and water crises, were amplified as signs of imminent regime failure. Trump himself warned that if Iran killed peaceful protesters, the United States was locked and loaded. Secretary of State Marco Rubio explicitly framed the Venezuela operation as a warning to other adversaries. The pattern was no longer subtle. Sanctions, media narratives, covert operations, warnings, military posturing, the talk of rescue and responsibility all sound hauntingly familiar. Venezuela was the test case, the proof of concept. The question that now hangs over global politics isn't whether the United States can do it again. It's whether anyone can stop it if Iran truly is next. Thank you for watching Statecraft. Venezuela said it remains open to international energy partnerships despite rising tensions after reports that the US urged Caracas to expel foreign advisors, while the UN offered support for inclusive dialogue. Regional unease grew following a US military strike, with reduced air traffic, troop mobilizations in Puerto Rico, and reinforced borders with Colombia. Mashhad with this report.
Marco, do you want to talk about that?
A day after a report by the New York Times stated that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio asked Venezuelan interim government-led Delcy Rodriguez to expel official advisors from China, Russia, Cuba and Iran, Rodriguez said her country is open to energy partnerships with other nations. She stressed it has some of the world's largest oil and gas reserves.
Venezuela está abierta a relaciones energéticas.
Venezuela is open to energy relations where all parties benefit, where economic cooperation is very well determined in commercial contracts. That is our position and the diversity of our energy relations. Venezuela has one of the largest oil reserves on the planet and has the largest gas reserves. Those resources must be at the service of national development, and they must also be at the service of the development of other countries in the world. This is how our oil industry was born, with an export vocation.
Addressing members of the National Assembly in Caracas, Rodriguez said Venezuela is willing to establish respectful relations through commercial agreements that comply with international law. However, United States Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed the UN's readiness to provide its good offices, including mediation and facilitation in support of the potential inclusive national dialogue in Venezuela. Meanwhile, Venezuela's primary international airport, Simon Bolivar International Airport, saw the number of inbound and outbound flights fall to far below the normal level after resuming operation amid fear from Jan 3 US military strike on the country. Amid tensions in the Caribbean, US Army Reserve soldiers were mobilized in Puerto Rico's Guaynabo. Soldiers were seen setting up camp at US Army base in preparation for a 4-day military exercise, with military vehicles also deployed on base as part of mobilization effort. Following the capture of Nicolas Maduro, US President Donald Trump has slammed Colombian President Gustavo Petro, calling him a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. He has accused Petro of enabling a steady flow of cocaine in the US.
Peace is found through dialogue, and that's why I accept President Trump's proposal to talk. We'll see what comes of it. I'll keep insisting that an alliance is possible in clean energy because it brings peace and life and love.
The border between Venezuela and Colombia has remained calm despite tensions rising after a US operation in Venezuela. What has changed is the reinforcements on the border. Soldiers have been dispatched in case of political upheaval to be able to protect Colombia in case there is an influx of Venezuelans into the country, as there has been in the recent past. With Mashhad Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
A subtle but consequential realignment is underway in South Asia's Pakistan and Bangladesh explore a defense partnership that could reshape regional equations. With Dhaka considering Pakistan-China fighter jets and New Delhi's influence under strain after Sheikh Hasina's exit, is India facing a strategic drift in its eastern neighborhood? Here is a report.
There's a quiet but significant shift unfolding in South Asia, and New Delhi is watching closely. Pakistan and Bangladesh are discussing a potential defense deal that could see Bangladesh buy JF-17 Thunder fighter jets, aircraft jointly developed by Pakistan and China. The talks took place in Islamabad between the Air Force chiefs of both countries and are being projected by Pakistan as part of its expanding arms export push. The timing is critical. These talks come months after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina in August 2024, an event that severely strained Dhaka's relationship with New Delhi. Since then, Bangladesh has moved closer to Pakistan, resuming direct trade for the first time since 1971 and stepping up military engagement. From India's perspective, this is a clear geopolitical shift. For decades, Bangladesh remained firmly aligned with India on security matters, especially under Hasina. Her removal has created space for Pakistan to re-enter Dhaka's strategic thinking, something unthinkable just a few years ago. Pakistan sees the JF-17 as the backbone of its air force and a flagship export. Islamabad is aggressively marketing it after claiming operational success during last year's clashes with India, claims New Delhi has strongly disputed. Bangladesh's interest is not just about jets. Pakistan has also promised fast-track delivery of Super Mashhad trainer aircraft along with training and long-term technical support, a full defense ecosystem. From India's point of view, this raises three concerns. First, China's shadow. The JF-17 is a Pakistan-China joint project. Any induction into Bangladesh's air force would expand Chinese-linked military hardware in India's eastern neighborhood. Second, strategic balance. While the JF-17 does not dramatically alter the regional air power equation, deeper Pakistan-Bangladesh defense ties dilute India's long-standing influence in Dhaka. Third, political uncertainty. Bangladesh is heading into elections under an interim government led by Muhammad Yunus. A future government that includes Islamist elements historically linked to Pakistan could further complicate India's security calculus. For Pakistan, this is about money and messaging. Islamabad is pitching arms exports as an economic lifeline, with its defense minister even claiming weapon sales could free Pakistan from IMF dependence. a bold assertion to say the least. For India, the message is clear. Bangladesh is no longer a guaranteed strategic partner. New Delhi will need sharper diplomacy, economic engagement, and security outreach to prevent Pakistan and China from filling the vacuum. In South Asia, alliances rarely collapse overnight, but they do shift, quietly and sometimes permanently. With Farhan Khan, Pure Report, India Today Global.
And news just coming in, United States Supreme Court is likely to pass orders or give opinion tomorrow on Trump's executive decision to impose tariffs on imports from various countries. This is going to impact India as well. The arguments in the case were heard in November 2025. The US Supreme Court has notified Friday as Opinion Day on its official website. That's news that's just coming in. It's going to be a huge, almost a judgment day in many ways than one. To discuss this and more, I'm being joined by my colleague Pranay Upadhyay. Pranay, a big day. Many say that this could either be a breather for India or it could even spell trouble. In any which way, everybody's closely monitoring what's going to happen tomorrow, especially exporters in India.
Absolutely, Geeta. This would be a test for US President Donald Trump's tariff policies, because long it's been debated, it has been challenged in the lower court, and now the matter has gone to the US Supreme Court. And now the US Supreme Court is going to decide, and the verdict will come. So not only it would, India would be looking at this court verdict and pronouncement from the US Supreme Court, but the world would be looking at it, because President Donald Trump so far has claimed that this is the success of his tariff policies, which has brought billions to US exchequer. But now the court will rule whether he has those powers or not, because as per the US Constitution, the taxation lies with the US Congress, and you need congressional approval, while President Donald Trump has used emergency powers to implement the tariff policies, which he announced in April and then implemented in August and September. And we have seen how India got impacted, and now President Donald Trump and his close allies are calling for further revision, which has provision for even 500% tariffs.
Right. We'll have to now wait and see how the Supreme Court opines on this. It is a major test for Donald Trump. Pranay Upadhyay, thank you so much for joining me. That's all in this edition of India Today Global. But before I go, India is drawing a hard line on artificial intelligence and online accountability, warning Elon Musk's X that it could lose legal immunity if its AI chatbot Grok continues generating obscene content. With women's safety, consent, and platform responsibility at stake, is New Delhi ready to make an example of big tech? Goodbye and take care.
India has issued a strong warning to Elon Musk-owned platform X, and this time the stakes are high. The centre says X could lose its crucial safe harbour protection if it fails to act against obscene content being generated through its AI chatbot Grok. So, what's triggered the alarm? Authorities say Grok's so-called spicy mode is being misused to create and circulate obscene images and videos of women, including celebrities, without consent. The government has called this a grave misuse of artificial intelligence, warning that it endangers the dignity, privacy, and safety of women and children. On January 2nd, the Ministry of Electronics and IT sent X a formal notice, ordering the platform to remove flagged content within 72 hours and submit an auditable compliance report. The concern goes deeper than user misuse. Officials say Grok is a platform-provided AI tool, meaning X could be seen as actively enabling harmful content, not just hosting it. That distinction weakens X's legal shield under Indian law. If safe harbour status under Section 79 of the IT Act is revoked, X could face direct legal and even criminal liability for content on its platform. The government has also flagged violations of the IT Rules 2021 and Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, which deal with obscene and exploitative material. This is a new territory for X. Back in 2021, it briefly lost safe harbour protection for failing to meet compliance requirements in India. While X says engineers are working on tighter safeguards, the message from New Delhi is clear. In the age of generative AI, platforms may no longer get immunity without accountability. And this time, India appears ready to take a hard step. With Shorik Shah, Bureau Report, India Today Global.